Things keep on moving on the Nintendo Switch 2 front as we got a bunch of information to go over and a huge lawsuit that is happening at this point with the accessory manufacturer Genki and Nintendo. So let's go ahead and jump right into that first. I want to go over what Oatmeal Dome had to say on Twitter talking about this lawsuit where Nintendo is suing the accessory manufacturer Genki that did a variety of, I would say, questionable things before the launch, or the reveal more like it, of the Nintendo Switch 2. They are the ones that did the 3D demo and had accessories and had different mock-ups and stuff like that. So Nintendo is suing them for damages. So Oatmeal Dome said this on Twitter: Nintendo is suing accessory maker Genki, the company that showed off a mock-up of the Switch 2 at their CES 2025 booth before the console's official reveal. Nintendo alleges that Genki violated their trademarks. We're going to go over some of the lawsuit bullet points that Oatmeal Dome was able to put up, saying at the CES event, Genki demoed and promoted unauthorized purported mock-ups and renderings of the Nintendo Switch 2 and its accessories. Further, Genki presented at least 2 unauthorized 3D printed mock-ups of the Nintendo Switch 2 to reporters. Genki boasted its alleged early access to the unreleased console and allowed guests to hold and measure the mock-ups. At Genki's CES booth, Genki CEO Edward Tsai personally showed off the 3D printed mock-ups and stated to different reporters that Genki had access to an authentic Switch 2 on which Genki based the mock-ups, renderings, and 3D printed mock-ups. Genki's representatives, including its CEO, also did multiple media interviews discussing their 8 accessories and purportedly confirming specific, highly confidential designs and functionality of the not yet announced Nintendo Switch 2. An article detailing these statements from Genki is attached as Exhibit B. Genki also displayed a video at its CES booth showing a purported 3D render of the Nintendo Switch 2, which it later posted on its website. Genki included Nintendo's marks on its rendering of the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, including Nintendo's registered design mark. We also got some more on this. Genki's activities have been designed to capitalize on and appropriate the public's anticipation for the release of Nintendo's next generation console. Genki has used Nintendo's trademarks and trade dress in connection with the marketing of its business and its unauthorized third-party accessories in violation of Nintendo's rights in those marks. On information and belief, Genki falsely represented that it had access to an authentic unreleased model of Nintendo's next generation console. Genki has since stated through the representatives that its claims of access were false. Genki's claims of compatibility would be impossible to guarantee without unauthorized illegal early access to the Nintendo Switch 2. Thus, Genki has misled and is misleading the public as its ability to guarantee the compatibility of its products with the Nintendo Switch 2. Additionally, or alternatively, Genki in fact illegally gained access to a pre-release model of the Nintendo Switch 2, rendering its statements otherwise objectively false. Defendants' infringing use of Nintendo's trademark in its advertising is in direct competition with Nintendo's and its licensees' legitimate marketing of Nintendo's new console and authorized accessories. Now, one more thing too as well, Nintendo pointed out how Genki actually boasted about having some type of secrets with the Nintendo Switch 2. So here's another excerpt of that saying, following Genki's CS participation, Genki updated its website and advertisements to boast about its early access to Nintendo Switch 2 information and its attention-grabbing leak of the console renders at CES, saying, "Can you keep a secret? We can't." Now, when it comes to lawsuits and all that, guys, I am definitely not the best at analyzing and breaking it down and understanding exactly what's going on here or there, but it definitely seems like this stuff probably Genki shouldn't have done it. Just from the outside looking in, I know that the Nintendo Ninjas actually went to the CES booth, and we talked about that. We covered that here on the channel, and we covered the 3D renderings and stuff that Genki did, and it always seemed like, man, they were flying really close to the sun, but it seems like they weren't flying close to the sun. They actually landed on there, and Nintendo's ready to strike with the Ninjas. So I think that this lawsuit's very interesting because there's one bullet point that I found I would probably say pretty damning to Genki overall, and it's this one right here. when it comes to 54, and it says Genki has used Nintendo's trademarks and trade dress in connection with the marketing of its business and its unauthorized third-party accessories in violation of Nintendo's rights in those marks. So yeah, you have to get a license to make accessories and stuff like that, and you can't use a trademark without the IP holder's permission or a license. So I think this one right here might cook them, but at the same time, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. Genki has responded with their own statement as well, saying that a note from the Genki team: you may have seen that Nintendo recently filed a lawsuit against us. We're taking it seriously and working with legal counsel to respond thoughtfully. What we can say is this: Genki has always been an independent company focused on building innovative gaming accessories for the community we love. We're proud of the work we've done, and we stand by the quality and originality of our products. While we can't comment in detail, we're continuing preparations to fulfill orders and showcase our newest products at PAX East this week. We're grateful for the overwhelming support we've received so far. We'll share more when we can, but for now, we're staying focused on doing what we do best, building gear for gamers. So that's what Genki says. So we'll see how this lawsuit plays out. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but it does seem like, I'm not sure. I think Genki probably wished that they didn't do all the extra stuff. I mean, you could have talked about the accessories and all that type of stuff and say, hey, look, we have estimations. We're going to have to wait and see. But being so bold about it, I think that was the issue that many people saw, that this could be a problem, because other accessory manufacturers like Satisfy and all that, they didn't do all the other stuff that Genki did. And while Nintendo might be suing Genki for copyright infringement, I'm not going to be suing any of you guys, especially those who are not subbed, that hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop. We're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. We have some more fallout from the lawsuit. My man Stealth is reporting on Twitter that Nintendo did confirm that formal hardware development of the Nintendo Switch 2 began in 2019, only 2 years after the launch of the original Switch. This information comes from Nintendo's lawsuit against Genki, which is interesting because Nintendo also put out like the development diary of the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think they said the actual initial first real talks was like right after the Switch came out, but they were able to take their time. Switch was actually very successful, so they were able to take their time and not have to lock into different types of specs early on. They could really draw this system out because the Switch was just killing it sales wise, so they can really draw it out and make sure that they had the best possible system for the price and for what they're doing, and the launch lineup of games, and of course third-party support. All of that really came together so well, unlike before the Nintendo Switch 1 came out, where there wasn't a lot of developers that had access or that were making games or things that were going on. It's completely different with the Nintendo Switch 2. So I do think that this kind of shows us that, you know, Nintendo's probably going to have this system around for a while. They put so much time and effort into it, and what we're seeing so far with the third-party support and what we're seeing with Nintendo's first party, it's looking pretty good so far. But yeah, usually Nintendo's right on making that next system, but you know what? They said, hey, look, we're going to take our time. They had 8 years overall from when the Nintendo Switch 1 first launched all the way up until this point, where we're about a month away from the Nintendo Switch 2. It's so close at this point. So yeah, I think that was a good thing for sure. And of course, long-term support, some people like to see sometimes systems kind of come in and out, but for me, long-term support is good. I do think that Nintendo will have a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro this time around. I know that before there wasn't any type of advanced or pro system. They had the OLED model, which was nicer, improved the memory, audio quality, things like that, the build. But I do think that this time around, Nintendo will make a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro that actually extends the life of the system even further than maybe what some people would think, because they've done it before with previous systems, the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Nintendo DS, Nintendo DSi. Then you also have the new Nintendo 3DS compared to the 3DS. So I do think that Nintendo will make that next step of a system. I think the interesting thing will be is that if that Nintendo Switch Pro actually does something with the dock, it looks like Nintendo's kind of advancing that dock bit by bit. Overall, you have the original Nintendo Switch 1 dock, then you have the Switch OLED dock, the Ethernet port built in. Now you have the Nintendo Switch 2 dock that has a fan built into that for cooling purposes, to run at higher clock speeds, to keep the system cool with the Nintendo Switch. I mean, what's next? Are they putting some chips or some internals inside of that dock along with the fan? So I do think that the dock is evolving along with the hardware as well. So we might see that with the Nintendo Switch Pro or like a Nintendo Switch 3 in the future. So what do you guys think overall about Nintendo and what they've done here with the Nintendo Switch 2 in terms of the formal hardware development, let me know in the comment section below. But next up, we're going to talk about the awesome RPGs that are on discount and on sale right now, and I wanted to recommend some of them that's going down on Amazon. So right now, you have big deals in sales on big RPGs. I want to go over 4 of them that I found here that I think that would be pretty good, but there's a ton of games on sale. Starting off with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You have the Amazon exclusive edition. I didn't know there was an Amazon exclusive edition, but there is apparently. And it's only $39.99, so 40 bucks for one of the best games of last year in 2024. And it's a limited time deal, so make sure you check it out if you're watching this sometime from when I actually post it. So limited time deal, 40 bucks. I enjoyed the game. There's some things that I don't necessarily like so much, but if you have a PS5 Pro, this game plays really well and looks so much better on the PS5 Pro than the base PS5. So if you have a PS5 Pro, you might want to check this game out, as it's actually a pretty good enhanced game for it. Next up is Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. That's also $39.99. This is a fantastic remake of a classic overall. Dragon Quest III is an incredible game, and this remake actually adds the famed HD 2D art style to it, and it's into extra content. You have more content than you had in the original game and the re-releases that are already on Switch. So this one completely remakes it ground up, and it looks beautiful, plays beautiful. So if you're looking for a classic RPG, man, I definitely recommend Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, as this one actually is the first game to play. Then you can get into the HD Remake 1 and 2 that's coming out later this year. So yeah, 40 bucks for Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. Next up is my personal game of the year last year, and one of my favorite games of all time, and that is Metaphor ReFantazio. Now, the PlayStation 5 version is about 45 bucks, but the Xbox Series X version is only $30, $29.99, and this is a $70 game when it launched. I bought it for $100. I got the digital deluxe edition that came with the PS4 and PS5 version, plus I bought the special edition of the game as well that has a bunch of cool goodies and everything. But if you're just looking for a lower entry point into it right now at this point, considering the game just came out at the end of last year, it's not like it's a super old game at this point, but yeah, I guess 6 months plus now. But yeah, Metaphor ReFantazio is incredible. This is a great deal. If you have an Xbox Series X, I think the whole game, or at least most of the game, is on the actual disc at this point. It's not a smart delivery type of game, so you might want to pick this one up, and it plays good on the Xbox Series X from what I understand overall. And it's a complete game. You're going to get 100 hours plus of content. There's so much different things to do. The battle system is incredible. It's one of the best turn-based RPGs that I've ever played, but it has a cool action RPG kind of hybrid system. It has action RPG elements on the overworld where you can start your attack and then you can break right into the turn-based battles. I love the class system, or the archetype system that they have. So many different combinations and skills and different things to learn. The story is great. The graphics and style are awesome. Metaphor ReFantazio is the full package. So if you have an Xbox Series X and you want a deal on this one, you can get it, or you can get it for 45 bucks on the PlayStation, or you can probably wait if you want. If you haven't played at this point, you can wait for the Nintendo Switch 2 version, because that's already been rumored. There will be a Nintendo Switch 2 version of Metaphor ReFantazio. I think that's definitely happening based off of the rumors that we've seen so far, and the huge confirmed support that we already have for the Nintendo Switch 2 from Sega. So I think that that will happen. So if you want to wait for that, you can. But if you have an Xbox Series X and you want to pick it up, go ahead and get that. It's also obviously Xbox Series S. You can play it on there too. It says Xbox Series X, but you can play it on Xbox Series S as well. So last game here is going to be Tales of Grace's F Remastered. This is a fantastic remaster of a game that people have been asking for quite some time. They did a considerably better job with this remaster compared to the previous two that they had with Tales of Vesperia or Tales of Symphonia. This one is at 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 5, 30 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch, and it is a bit pricier on the Nintendo Switch at $33.44 compared to the PlayStation 5 version at $27.94, but it's a great remake, and it's getting you a little bit off of that standard price. I also think, considering the Nintendo Switch and where it is in its life, the physical cartridges of certain games are probably going to be rare down the line. So I would say that if you're a collector, then Tales of Grace's F Remastered might be a game that you want to pick up on the Nintendo Switch or even PlayStation. But that's going to wrap it up for this video here, guys. What did you think about all the different stuff that we talked about, from the big lawsuit going on and more? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.